What's the scariest fact you wish you didn't know? There is a waterborne, microscopic, brain-eating amoeba that can enter your body through your nose. It is found in fresh water and can be present at water parks and pools. It is fatal within about 5 days and there is no way to really test for it before it's typically too late. Survival is very unlikely. Humans invented surgery long before they invented anesthesia. Yep, I think I saw something about having extra doctors on board to restrain and gag soldiers during amputations, for example, getting shot in the leg. Brain aneurysms can happen to anyone, at any age, and most are fatal. Yep, knew a girl who was early teens who died of one, went to bed with a headache, woke up and started getting ready for school and collapsed. She was air-flown to a world-renowned hospital. We lived in the city that it's in, but no normal amount of medical treatment could save her. Plastic particles are absolutely everywhere. It's in our food, it's in our water, it's in the ground, it's in our bloodstream, and nobody knows what the long-term effects are going to be, or how to reverse it. When a hamster oocyte is fertilized with human sperm, a humster is created. In Philippines there's a dish called pagpag, which is anything edible that can be scavenged from the trash around the city, washed, recooked and sold in slums for prices people there can afford. In ancient Egypt, when a woman died, her family would sometimes wait a few days before having the body mummified because they wanted to wait for the body to decay enough to prevent necrophilia. If you are 25 years old, approximately 1/3 of the world's population who were alive at the time of your birth have since died. And what if you're like 47? About 63% have died, almost 2/3. The FBI estimates that there are 25 to 50 serial killers active in the US every day. The fact that I was born with congenital heart disease means that at any time, at random, without warning, one of my valves or part of my heart muscles can suddenly collapse or disintegrate. I would be dead within a matter of days or weeks. Only annual checkups can help find the smallest of hints to prevent this. There is something called our on-T phenomenon. I won't get into EKGs or anything, but basically if your heart beats at the wrong time in your normal cycle, you can go into cardiac arrest. This was seen with that NFL football player who had sudden collapse on the field a year or two back. That sudden beat that occurs can also result from a sudden hit to the chest, such as a baseball hitting you square in the chest at the wrong time in your heart cycle. My town is built around calderas of 2 massive supervolcanoes, one of which has produced 2 of the most powerful eruptions ever and had the alert level raised for the first time just over 12 months ago due to increased activity. Most scientists who study cockroaches develop an allergy to cockroaches eventually. Simultaneously, they develop an allergy to ground coffee. Do the math. Even if you're the safest, most skillful driver in the world, you still have no way to protect yourself from other bad drivers. Every time you drive over a bridge, know that the company that could build it cheapest got the job. 2 Scottish doctors originally invented the chainsaw for childbirth. How capable all humans are of true evil. After a couple tours in Afghanistan, I saw some of the nicest, funniest or sweetest people do absolutely terrible things in the name of war/self-preservation. When put in the right situation, all humans are capable of truly despicable actions whether they want to admit it or not. Humans scare the crap out of me. There are tons of safety standards we take for granted, but the regulated industries continually try to weaken them, and since we take them for granted, there are only a handful of people to advocate for the public good. Like drinking water standards, there's a whole industry lobbying to weaken them and like 3 people on the other side. The US military was expecting such high casualties for the invasion of mainland Japan in World War II, that all of the Purple Hearts, medals awarded to injuries in combat, used since have been leftovers made in anticipation for the invasion. Sometimes cancer just happens. There's nothing anyone could have done to prevent it. This will sound morbid, but several years back I visited a classmate for her birthday, and her little brother, who hadn't even reached elementary school yet, was complaining of pain in his leg but was otherwise happy and energetic. Turns out he had a tumor in his leg. A little over a year later, I sat on a bench in the funeral home looking at the urn containing his ashes while listening to his eulogy. Around 90 to 99% of kids kidnapped are never taken by strangers. This would be fine on its own if it were not coupled with the fact that after 3 days these kids are more often than not dead. Conclusion: family or family friends will kidnap and kill the children. My exact numbers may be wrong, as every time I look it up, I get a variety of different numbers, but roughly 40% of people don't wash their hands after using the bathroom and 85% don't wash their hands correctly after using the bathroom. Dogs like squeaky toys because they mimic the screams of their prey. In colonial America, it was common practice that if during childbirth the child gets stuck or dies during delivery, the midwife/doctor would use special tools to dismember the body in the canal and remove them piece by piece in order to try and save the mother. My mom has a set of tools they use to do it. She gives lectures about midwifery in colonial America at historical reenactment and likes to show off the tools. They look like torture devices and the wooden handles are stained with blood. Edit: for those of you who are trying to compare this to an abortion, it is not an abortion. This was done after the woman had been in labor for over a day at least and it was evident that the baby was not coming or the baby had died. It wasn't done because the woman wanted it. It was done to save the woman's life. In those days the grown adult was more important than any fetus or baby. That baby could die at any moment from disease, while the adult had survived the childhood diseases and had more value to the community. Life was measured in increments of 3.3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 years. You get the gist. That baby had a high likelihood of not living to 3 years. Why do you think it was common practice to wait 3 weeks to introduce the child to the community? Honestly, I don't understand why pro-lifers are more interested in the well-being of fetuses and babies rather than the health of the adults and teens who they are forcing to carry those fetuses. The earliest possible end of the universe is 20 billion years from now, and it's likely more like trillions of years, possibly forever. The universe is only 13.7 billion years old. I mentioned this recently in another thread. We are currently in the 6th major extinction event in the history of the planet, called the Holocene extinction. Flora and fauna are rapidly becoming extinct due to human activity. As far as I understand it, the coming generations are going to suffer resource shortages. There is nothing we can do to stop it, we can only slow it down. But most people I've met and talked to about it do not take it seriously, or they just roll their eyes and go, yeah, whatever. Crazy scientist. Your children may suffer from this, your grandchildren will suffer. I don't even want to think about how later generations will suffer. There's a tick that can make you allergic to meat, red meat if you want to be more specific. The tick is called Lone Star tick and it causes you to develop alpha-gal syndrome. It can potentially be life-threatening, but symptoms may lessen or disappear over time. Usually it lasts between 1 and 5 years if I remember it correctly. Just giving more info for the curious folk. A very plausible answer to Fermi paradox is the dark forest theory of the universe. A very plausible answer to why there are no time travelers in history is because humanity destroys itself before it develops sufficient technology to make time travel work. When you get numbed at the dentist, the needle goes at minimum of 1 into your gums. I was told that right as they were getting the injection ready, started having an anxiety attack. 80% of Soviet males born in 1923 died in World War II. Totally blind people don't see black, they don't see at all. For some reason that's always frightened me. There's a plant that grows in Australia called the gympie gympie. Touching the plant will result in an unbearable pain because of the small needles on the plant. The pain is so unbearable people and animals killed themselves because of it. There's also a plant called hogweed that can cause severe burns and blisters that can scar you for life. Gympie gympie. I just wikied it. Apparently its fruit is edible, if the hairs are removed. That seems like it's pushing the definition of edible to me. Fun fact, being flayed, skinned alive, by a skilled torturer meant that you'd be likely to survive the ordeal. Believe it or not, dying of shock or blood loss wasn't guaranteed. Often people survived hours or days with no skin. In these cases what finishes them off was hypothermia. Prion diseases exist. They're not bacteria or viruses. There isn't infection per se to attack. They're basically an alternate form of protein, and we can't stop them. The fact that rabbits eat their babies when they know they won't survive, almost all animals do, in a sense it's humane. Cats will just leave their sick babies to the wild to starve to death, rot to death, or get picked apart to death by bugs. I'd take the mom doing the deed over hours of ants any day. You can have rabies for years before it even shows symptoms, then one day you get a headache and it's a death sentence from there. Edit. If you're worried you have somehow contracted rabies, please contact your doctor. Don't ask random people on Reddit lol. Oh god, I found a dead bat in my apartment like 2 years ago. Guess I should go get checked before the paranoia sets in. A moose can swim about 16 feet/5 meters underwater, which is why orcas are natural predators of them. Imagine you're diving underwater, suddenly there's a moose sitting at the bottom eating sea grass, then it gets eaten by an orca. That would be terrifying. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, sharing and subscribing.